Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who may be watching this video right now. Be you an irate parent who I may have linked this video to, or maybe you're just a random person who feels like listening to me ramble on for an unspecified amount of time on my opinions on swear words. Now, this is actually the first episode of a rant series that I have been planning for a long time called the IMO Show, which stands for In My Opinion. Aren't I just clever? But anyway, basically I'm talking about in this episode my opinions on swearing because this is something that I have very strong opinions about. And with that being said, I am going to raise my voice in this video. I'm sure. I have like zero doubt that I will. But it's just to get my point across more. I will not be swearing in this video, however, because I want to... I guess I'll say why towards the end of the video, but I will not be swearing, because I realize that maybe the people who are watching this video perhaps are against swearing, and I can perfectly respect that. So with that being said, I will not be using swear words in this video. I will watch my mouth. But anyway, basically, I've had multiple irate parents come to me, private message me, comment on my videos, whatever. Some have even Facebooked me and tweeted at me, just saying how they are just so upset with the fact that I use swear words so, I guess, loosely in my videos. Now, the thing about this is that I was raised in a family that really did not have a huge problem with swear words. Now, I know that many people come from many different backgrounds, many families raise their children differently. I understand that. In fact, I respect that very much more than you would ever imagine. If you watch most of my gameplay videos, you would not think that I'm the kind of person that I am in real life. In real life, I am a fairly intelligent, or at least I would like to think I am a fairly intelligent and very respectful Southern gentleman. Yes, I was raised in the South, where we actually have a lot of people who are against swearing. I'm a Southern gentleman who is actually fairly intelligent, but yet there are times when I can use swear words, and I feel that it is not a very big deal. And my thing is, I get it a lot on my Dragon Ball videos that I do, where I play a Dragon Ball game, and I go all out. When I'm playing a fighting game, and I just feel like using a swear word because something that was, I can't think of a great word for it, without using a swear word, honestly, but, no, I'm just kind of kidding there, but when something happens that I feel was maybe unfair, maybe something that happens that was just crazy, unexpected, I blurt out the first thing that comes to my mind, and that is often a swear word. Because when I'm recording my gameplay videos, I like to do a live commentary, and I feel that in order for me to get completely loosened up and have a completely live commentary, making it uncut and all, I feel like the usage of my swear words, I don't need to watch my mouth for that situation. And what bugs me when I get an irate parent saying, oh my goodness, my child is watching your videos, I cannot believe that you're using these words around my children. And what bugs me about that is the subject matter in things like Dragon Ball. Now, this is, I don't know if you guys have seen the stand-up comedy by Doug Benson. His special on Comedy Central Presents. If you are against swearing or other subject matter such as that, I would not recommend you watch it. But nonetheless, to loosely put it, in one of his specials, he was talking about watching the censored version of Kill Bill on television, where they showed massive amounts of violence, death, blood, gore, and all of that, but yet they watched the swearing on it, and that's one of my favorite jokes that he has ever told, because I agree with it so much, basically. Because what bugs me is Dragon Ball is a show about violence, death, blood, explosions. But when I go around and say a single swear word, all of a sudden I'm causing damage to your child. I'm the one who's ruining his mind or making him go around messing up his head. But he's sitting here watching this show about a bloody shirtless guy who's fighting a gigantic monkey. And it just boggles my mind how some people can think that way. That violence and all of that stuff is less damaging to a child than hearing a few words. I don't understand it, because when I was a child, I watched Dragon Ball, and I watched Pokemon, I watched shows like that, and I can understand, you may be saying, well, those are primarily kids shows. Now, while I may disagree that the shows can be just fine for adults, that they can kind of be used for any age, I can see what you're saying. It's primarily a kids show. Dragon Ball is on Nicktoons, Pokemon is on what, Cartoon Network still nowadays, like when I was a kid. Naruto is on Disney. Things like that, they're all kids shows at the end of the day, and like I said, while I may disagree that they can be for other kinds of demographics, I can understand what you're saying. Your kid likes Pokemon, Dragon Ball, Naruto, whatever, and you're trying to raise your child to not use swear words. You are against it for one reason or another, be it your religious denomination, be it your religious denomination, or just because you don't want your kid acting particularly crass in front of crowds of people, you know, which I can understand that. I am a young man myself. I am 15 years old. I know many people say that I look like I'm about 12, however, I sound like I am in my 20s, but I'm actually in between the two somewhat. I am 15 years old, and I cannot wait to be a father someday myself. That's one of my biggest goals in life. I really want to raise my child to be just all around the best kind of person he can be. I want to be a husband and father. I want to be a family man. And that may seem weird coming from the guy that you are likely right now watching this video because you're mad that I'm swearing and acting crass in front of other children. But my thing, like I said, I don't get why people feel as though watching the death, violence, and explosions of Dragon Ball, Naruto, and really not necessarily Pokemon, because Pokemon, I can kind of understand that one a little bit, to be completely honest. That show, while it did have some sad moments that could, you know, kind of upset your child, it really wouldn't be anything particularly graphic or adult, but nevertheless, what I was getting at is I don't really understand that kind of sense. Like, when I was watching the show as a child, you know, I didn't like the fact that they censored a lot of the language, but then you see all this violence and stuff, like, you know, Kid Buu blows up the world, and Goku's like, darn you! And I'm like, alright, all joking aside, if I was Goku at that point, I would have been swearing like a sailor who just stubbed his toe. You know, I would have been all over the place, and it just always seemed unrealistic to me, and I don't know, but one thing that I'm going to be getting at, and the biggest reason why I am not swearing in this video, is because I really want to urge you parents, this is the main demographic I'm trying to reach in this video, the parents who are irate that I swear in my videos, okay? My parents, like I said, they did not have a problem with me swearing as a child, and I would like to think that I turned out just fine. I am, for the most part, a straight A student in school, you know, a few B's here and there, but nonetheless, I am in advanced classes, I plan on going to college, and all that stuff. I am a very responsible young man, I would like to think so, at least more responsible than some of my peers that I have grown up with over the years, and I just don't see how swearing is that much of an issue. But some people treat it as though it is the worst thing in the world. Now, one of the biggest things that I urge you all to do, you guys come to my videos and tell me, no, don't use swear words. My children are watching your videos. Well, for one thing, it's not my fault that they're watching my videos. If you have such a horrible, horrible problem with swearing, and there is absolutely nothing I can say or do that will change your mind, then don't let your kids watch my videos. It's as simple as that. You have absolutely no right whatsoever to come to my videos and tell me how I am allowed to speak, how I am allowed to carry myself. You have absolutely no right whatsoever to do that. And I don't get what makes people so pretentious and full of themselves that they think they have the idea to come to my videos and tell me how to talk. I just do not understand that at all. I don't get what makes people think that they are just such a hotshot that they have the right to do that to me. Now, this, you know, I hate to be all redneck, this is America, but it is. I have the freedom of speech to say what I want, and even my parents, you may say, oh, just wait till your parents find out what you're saying, young man. Like I said, my parents have no problem with swearing. They know exactly what I do on my YouTube channel. They know I do commentaries of video games. They know I loosely use swear words as much as I want. They have no qualm with that. Now, you can say my parents are the worst people in the world, but I would like to think that I have some of the best parents in the world. They have been very supportive of everything I've tried to do in my life. You know, if I wanted something to help me make videos, they would do their best to help me out, you know. My parents were kind of always the people who, I hate to quote my friend Omega Pro, but he was saying how his mother was the kind of person, if she had $5 and you needed $10, she would give you $10 somehow. She would figure it out. That's how my parents were, sort of. But, like I said, they're some of the best parents in the world, and it's just, what bugs me, though, people they think they have the right to tell me how to talk, and that's one thing. Like I said, if you just have a horrible problem with swearing, don't allow your kids to watch my videos. all it takes is a little bit of parenting on your part. And I don't get how that's so hard. Now, I realize, a lot of kids do things behind their parents' back. You may say, you better not watch StormPow's videos or we're going to be really upset with you, young man. And as soon as you go to bed that night, they're going to get on their computer and search the StormPow Dragon Ball Z super ultra mega swearing, swear words and all that junk on their computer. Or at least that's what you may think they do. But I do realize that it is hard to get kids to completely, do everything you say. I was once a kid myself, and I've been around a lot of kids. I have a lot of younger relatives, and like I said, I really want to be a parent, so I've studied a little bit of psychology of things like this nature. I know that may come off as really weird, but I do enjoy psychology. I think that's a very fascinating subject. But nonetheless, one of the biggest things, if you can stress to your child why they shouldn't watch my videos or why they shouldn't swear, then they will understand it more, and they will be less likely to go behind your back and watch my videos or watch any kind of inappropriate content that you do not want them to watch. Now, one of the biggest things is self-control. Teach your children that. Now, like I said, this is a big reason. Earlier on in the video, I said that I was not going to swear during this video to help myself prove a point. As you can see, this video has been done in one take. I have not had to cut myself out after swearing or anything like that. This has been done in one take, and I've gone this long without saying any swear words. Why? Because I have self-control. When I am not trying to swear, I won't. And I feel like that is one thing that parents do not understand, or they're too lazy to teach their children about. My parents always told me, around the house, say pretty much whatever you want. When I was particularly younger, they had stricter rules, because they were just like that. They basically said, no F-bombs, watch your mouth at school, and around family members, absolutely no swearing there. And, just things like that nature, and just don't get carried away with it. Like, don't toss them around extremely loosely, even just around the house casually. But I grew up with that rule, no F-bombs anywhere, but nowadays I'm older, I've grown out of that, and just basically, they taught me self-control. All they had to do was stress to me, we don't want you to go around to your grandma's house and be swearing like a sailor, because they would think that that was wrong. They would, be very disappointed in my parents for that sense. And that's all it took. A nice little talk to tell me, say whatever you want around the house, just watch yourself. They told me to use my common sense to know when I could and could not swear, when I could use it more loosely than other times. And I think that that is all that you parents have to do. You can tell your kids, you can watch StormPow's videos, just don't imitate him. He's not a role model. Tell them that. If you don't want them to swear at all, just tell them that. Tell them, just don't imitate StormPow. That is all you parents have to do. Just a little bit of work. Tell your children not to do it. Tell them why it's bad. Tell them, I know in some faiths that swearing is very frowned upon in them. Like I said, I am from the South. I live in the Bible Belt. There are many people who will not use a single swear word in their lives down here. But I understand that if your faith is against swearing. Just like I said, explain to your children why your faith is against them. Why it is crass and just ugly looking when you swear in front of certain people. Just explain to them that, and if you do a good enough job, then they will not swear. They will obey you. They will understand why it is wrong to swear, and they will not swear. Okay, that's all it takes. Teach them the self-control. And one example I am going to use is, when I was a little younger, my parents did not allow me to watch South Park, and that may come off as very odd. Some of you irate parents who are picturing me with little devil horns right now, thinking that I'm Satan for swearing in front of your children, you may be thinking that perhaps I grew up and I watched South Park ever since I was born, and that's why I have such a potty mouth now. But that is actually false. My parents did not allow me to watch South Park until I was about 12 years old, because they felt that the subject matter was, of course, too crass and inappropriate for my age demographic. And they were very true about that. I am very glad that they didn't allow me to watch that show, because it would have probably warped my mind very badly if I had watched that show before I was about 10 or so. But one of the things that I really was not very accustomed to saying was using the Lord's name in vain, which is something that they do very loosely in South Park. And that was sort of something that, at that point in my life, I had gotten very, very, very used to watching my mouth with the swear words that I learned thus far. I was able to, say what I wanted to around the house, but if I'm in a public area where my image and the way that I carry myself was important, then I could go in an unimaginable amount of time without saying a single swear word. And what I'm getting at, though, is I've gotten a little bit used to hearing that on South Park, and I started using the Lord's name in vain very loosely around my house, and I can understand how imitation is hard to not do. I can understand why watching my videos, watching me say swear words is very easy to imitate and want to imitate. Well, basically my parents hadn't, they didn't really know what was up with South Park. All they knew were other parents were saying, "Oh no, it's terrible," and they didn't really know what exactly was wrong with South Park. They just knew that it was inappropriate. I think they may have watched one episode of South Park before they had told me, "No, don't watch this show until you're a little older." So they couldn't really warn me in advance. You may hear the Lord's name in vain multiple times on this show, but don't, say it, because actually the Lord's name in vain is one of the worst things to say swear word wise, if you ask me. But then again, other people have various opinions. To me, everything is just a word, so I really don't know why I'm saying anything is particularly worse than another one. But what I'm getting at, though, is all they had to do, they heard me saying the Lord's name in vain around the house, and they were like, "Alright, you need to stop that. You need to stop saying GD, you need to stop all this stuff, because that's kind of pushing it." It was kind of like how they told me not to say the F word. All they had to do was add an extra little layer to our conditions, and I was like, okay, they explained to me why it was wrong, and I said, alright, I will not use it, because it's wrong that way. That's all they had to do. And now that I'm a little older, they respect my maturity enough to where they let me say whatever I want around the house. If I get too carried away, they may be, "Hey, watch that," but that's about it. They let me say whatever I want, and that's why I've grown up. So if you don't want your kids swearing around the house, tell them, don't swear. You can watch this show, you can watch StormPow's videos, but just don't imitate him. Explain why it's wrong, and they will not swear. And like I said, if you're doing a good enough job of parenting, which I'm sure you are, because you're obviously concerned with the mental health of your child, if you're still watching this video at this point, trying to learn, how a child will tick when it comes to swear words. Because I'm only 15 years old, like I said. You're getting this information straight from the horse's mouth, whatever. I am still a child myself, basically. I may be older than your child, I may be twice as old as your child, but nonetheless, I was his age not long ago, and I know how they tick. I have read books on psychology, particularly child psychology. I know how this works, okay? I'm not trying to act all, assumptuous of myself and think that I know everything, but I know basics of how it works. And I feel like if you're doing a good enough job of parenting your child and they respect your authority enough, then if you explain to them what is wrong with swearing, in your opinion, of course, then they will not swear. They will do, and I know I've repeated myself a million times with that, but I'm really trying to stress it. Parent your child. Do not let me parent your child, okay? That is what gets under my skin. When a parent feels that it's my fault that their child is using swear words around the house. No, it is your fault, okay? And I know, like I said, I'm going to raise my voice more, but it really bugs me how parents feel that I should be responsible for what your child is doing, for what your child is searching on the internet, for what your child is saying around the house, okay? This is the closest I'm ever going to get to saying, kids, don't swear at home. Okay, I'm never going to go around and saying that because I feel like that's your job. I'm not a parent yet. When I am a parent, I'm going to tell my children that. I'm going to tell them, look, I may swear around the house, son, but you shouldn't because you're still a child. You need to let your mind develop a little bit. Or I may say, when he's maybe 6 or 7, a little bit older, I may say, son, I may swear and you may swear around the house because I feel like that sort of does help how you carry yourself. It lets you become more confident in how you speak when you don't have to watch yourself. But I may say, you know, just watch what you say around family members, around any public place, any place where there is an authority figure where the way that you carry yourself matters in the slightest. And hopefully I would have been doing a good enough job raising my son at that point to where he will respect what I'm saying and he will do as I say. And really, I think I've covered all the major points, but let me just sort of recap for those of you who are still somewhat interested in this video. I cannot parent your child, you have to do that. I am not responsible for what your child does around the house. If he goes around swearing, then I apologize for the way that my parents raised me that way. But it is your fault if he is not obeying you, and if you cannot explain to him what is wrong with swearing and why he shouldn't do it at certain times and places. All you have to do is tell them, don't imitate this and this, and don't swear because this reason and this reason. It is that simple. There is nothing wrong with swearing, in my opinion, as long as people know how to control themselves. Now, as much as I would like to live in a world where swear words were not seen as crass or disrespectful, because to me they're just other words that are used to explain emphasis on something, that's not going to happen, and I completely understand that. I cannot change the world that way. Even if this video gets a million kajillion views, there's no way that I will change the world in that sense. All I'm hoping is that children just grow up knowing how to control their mouths like I did. Now, I'm not the perfect example of a child. I'm not a role model. I'm not trying to say I am. But I'm just trying to say that if you raise your child and tell him the differences between right, wrong, and good and bad and everything like that, if you do a good enough job, they will listen. And that is it for this video, you guys. I would like to thank you all very much for sitting through this video and watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and goodbye.